Welcome, everyone. It's the 360 show. The Cricket World Cup 2023 has come to an end, and we have our champions, Australia. Congrats to all the Aussie supporters, the Aussie fans who stuck behind their team, and congrats to Team Australia who stood up in that final, played a one heck of a game, and ultimately lifting that World Cup trophy. There's something about that World Cup trophy that the Australians like a lot. They've won it 6 times now, and congratulations to them. I'll also be sharing my team of the tournament with you guys. There's also a special interview with someone who was in that final. So stay tuned and let's begin.
We're watching a very high-class player. This is when you know AB de Villiers is at his best.
So the Aussies are on top of the world, winning the 2023 World Cup. There will be a lot of happy people out there, a lot of happy Australians who have supported their team through thick and thin because it was a rocky start to the tournament for them. They didn't play their best cricket in the start of the tournament, and it just shows you the character in that team. And I think almost like a know-how to win World Cup trophies. They started peaking at the right time. I called it in one of my shows about 3 weeks ago, saying, yeah, it's the Aussie team peaking at the right time once again, finding form at exactly the right time. And they played an incredible semi-finals against South Africa, where I felt they had the tougher part of the conditions. The wicket got slower and harder there in Kolkata, and they just stuck to their guns and found a way to cross the line. Something that have become very familiar with this Australian team in big tournaments, in big finals. They just find a way to cross the line. Pat Cummins spoke about their mentality, knowing that the teams in the past, have found a way to just win trophies. And they took a lot of confidence from that. And they took it into this year's World Cup, especially in those big games, the semi finals and the finals. And let's not forget the game against Afghanistan, where they looked down and out, and Glenn Maxwell stood up. We spoke with him in the 360 show before, and he stood up and scored an incredible double hundred. There were some highlights shown in that final of that knock, and I just think they found a way for some of the individuals in the team found a way to stand up when the team needed them most, and none better than Travis Head in the semi-finals and finals. So there's a lot of talk about him and the way he performed. So there's a little bit of a tongue-in-the-cheek tweet or post from Atif Nawaz saying Australia's men's team have won 6 trophies, nearly as many ODI world titles as the Australian women's team, 7. So let's not forget about just Australia as a whole dominating big events and big ICC events and winning trophies. 20 World Cup titles is the post from ESPN Cricket Info. And there you see the list. Men's ODI World Cup titles, T20 World Cup titles, and then they come the women. Look at all those 7 ODI World Cup titles and also 6 T20 World Cup titles. Truly remarkable, and congratulations to Australian cricket as a whole, just really performing well in these big events, winning cricket left, right, and centre at the moment. They just know how to play big moments. Let's have a quick look at the batting card then from India, losing the toss. They were sent in to bat first. And what I loved about the approach in this first 10 overs from Captain Rohit Sharma was he identified the fact that we are behind the 8 ball here because we just lost the toss. The wicket is going to get slower and harder in the afternoon and most probably easier in the evening. He identified that early on in the innings. He got 47 of 31 balls. Fantastic start for Team India. And I just thought it was really good from them to identify that, knowing that we are a little bit behind the 8 ball here with regards to conditions, and then getting that really good start. Unfortunately, because of the lack of batters in this team, it's quite a top-heavy batting lineup with Shami already there. Is that at 8? He's coming in already at 8, and there's just 4 outright bowlers there. And Virat and Shreyas and the guys who batted together, KL, really understanding that they needed to get big partnerships in order not to put those bottom guys under pressure. Unfortunately, the wicket just got harder and harder, but a lot of credit to Pat Cummins and his bowling lineup. Understanding the conditions really well, really good field placings, and just knowing the flow of the game, understanding that the ball was going to start reversing a touch. He brought the right bowlers on at the right time. Mitchell Stark coming in at exactly the right time. Josh Hazlewood getting rid of Jadu with a reverse swinging ball nicking him off. And bowling Glenn Maxwell to get rid of Rohit Sharma, with Travis Head running backwards. Fantastic catch. And that's what the Australian team do really well. They understand how to play big moments well. They know that it's small margins that win you knockout games, and they do the small things well, one at a time. So ultimately, Pat Cummins making really good calls. Team Australia winning there. Congratulations once again to them. Here's a tweet from Bharat Servi, just boosting what I just said now. India scored 240 in 50 overs. 80 of those were scored in the first 10, and only 160 in the last 40 overs. And once again, just reiterating Rohit's approach and identifying that the first 10 overs was going to be really important. Unfortunately, they couldn't get to that 280, 300 mark, which would have put a lot of pressure on Team Australia. And then Bharat Sundarasan, Pat Cummins is so switched on today as captain. Not only has he been on top of these bowling and fielding changes, he just threw his arms out and now asked his teammates on the field to calm down, take a breath after those two overthrows. Very natural, 130,000 people cheering on Team India. It was natural for the Aussies to be a little bit nervous in the field. Couple of overthrows, and Cummins just said, guys, let's relax. I know it's a final, we're all nervous, but let's remember to do the basics well. I've got your backs as captain, and I'm going to be making the calls. Just follow my lead. And the leader certainly led by example. And then moving on, applauding the player of the tournament. Guess who? It's my brother man, Virat Kohli, the top run scorer. He was simply incredible, getting another 50 in that final. Unfortunately, I would say the conditions played its part, really frustrating him out there. And Virat ultimately getting out bowled by Pat Cummins, that played on. A little bit unlucky, it's got to be said, because he was really set to make a big score there for Team India, and that would have helped a lot with the tough conditions. Cricket Walla saying that Australia was outstanding in the field, starting with Head's stupendous catch to dismiss Rohit, which set India back, followed by splendidly controlled bowling, pace and spin. Backed by outstanding ground fielding, Cummins astute and proactive as captain. India left to defend below par score. Certainly proactive, and he has been throughout this tournament. And I think we got to look back at that semi-finals as well, where I believe they had the rough side of the conditions, and Pat Cummins and Team Australia still found a way to come out on top against South Africa in that semi-final. And then the batting card for Australia, David Warner and Travis Head, understanding and once again identifying early on with Mitch Marsh. The top three have had a very clear role in this tournament. Get us off to good starts, but not only solid starts, flying starts. And that has been the motto on these slow wickets of Kolkata and Ahmedabad, where David Warner, Travis Head, and Mitch Marsh decided to go after the bowling, not really minding losing 1 or 2 wickets in the first 10, but they wanted to be at 6, 7, 8 runs and over, putting the bowling team under pressure. In the finals, going at even 10 runs and over at the start, and really unsettling Team India. And then there's this tweet about from Rashid saying Shami was bowling like a dream coming first range. Siraj was not bowling badly, picking up crucial wickets. India changed that in the final. Why? Shami struggled to control his swing with a new ball. Siraj was completely useless, he says, bowling second change. Huge tactical error by India, in Rashid's opinion. And I don't know how much experience Rashid's got, but Rashid, my friend, just a quick word of advice. Maybe stick to what you know best. And I don't know if it's bowling changes in a World Cup final. Anyway, I can tell you the thinking there. Who was the best bowler for Team India in the tournament? Mohammad Shami. Did India have the rough side of the conditions in the final? Absolutely yes. What did they need to do to win the final, knowing that they didn't have enough runs on the board? Get wickets in the first 5 to 10 overs, and as many as possible. How do you do that? With your best bowlers. In South Africa's instance, many years ago, for me, it would have been, for instance, do I need wickets right now as captain, as a team? Yes, bring on Dale Steyn, Imran Tahier, for instance, depending on which batter is facing. So this was a very clear tactical decision. Very easy to say now it was a bad decision. I thought it was an absolutely spot-on decision. He did get the breakthrough, but unfortunately, there was a bit of dew and conditions changed. Whether Mohammad Siraj, Shami, Bumrah, doesn't matter who bowled, it got easier. And the decision by Rohit Sharma was to bowl his two best bowlers at the start because he knew Australia needed to be 3 or 4 down in the first 10 or 15 overs because the dew was going to come down. So, Rashid, there's your answer. Why they did that. Did it work? No. Would Siraj have made a difference? We won't know, but I can tell you most probably not. Glenn Maxwell's tweet, moving on from that then. Glenn Maxwell just tweeting World Cup with a thumbs up. And we will not be catching up with Glenn Maxwell today. There's someone else. I've got a nice surprise for you guys. We have spoken to Maxi already, but someone else will be joining us. And then there was a tweet or a post from the late Shane Warne in respect of the big man. I thought we'll pull up a post from him, December 6, 2016. He called it already then. 7 years later, look where we are. He was talking about Travis Head. I'm a big fan of Travis Head as a cricketer, he said. I believe he will be a future star for Australia in all forms of the game. And look at Travis Head. Within the last 2 years, he has scored a century in a World Cup final. He scored a century in the World Test Championship final. Man of the series in the 21-22 Ashes. And what a reputation this young man is creating for himself. That was a post from Adam White. Just fantastic. And just finally, there's the scorecard. 240 for India. Never going to be enough, considering the dew was going to come down. They did everything they could. They bowled their best bowlers up front, hoping they could get 2 or 3 down. They bowled their spinners at the right time. There was no turn. The ball was skidding on. Australia, credit to them, keeping the calm, composed attitude and demeanour that they've had this whole tournament, and ultimately crossing the line there. Unfortunately, Travis Head didn't get that not out. I was hoping he would just knock it around and definitely deserved to lift his bat at the end. But I don't think he'll mind too much lifting that World Cup trophy. Standout bowlers was Bumrah there, taking 2 wickets. Shami once again did everything he could to pick up a wicket there. He did get that one breakthrough, and Siraj not having much of a impact on that bowling lineup. 1 for 45 in his 7 overs. The spinners also didn't get much turn. So what happens when the dew comes down? What happens with the conditions? Everyone talks about it. You hear the commentators talking about the dew is coming in. Everything is changing. The long and the short is when India batted in that final, it was really slow in the afternoon. It's dry. The wicket is very dry. As the ball gets older, it gets slower off the surface. So you can only imagine someone like a Bumrah running in, or Cummins, or Stark, or Shami, Rabada, you name all the fast bowlers in this tournament, running in, bowling at 140, 145, even 150 kilometers an hour. The ball hits the surface. Your mind and your body tells you, I've got to go after it. All of a sudden, it stops off the surface, and you are through the shot. And it's very difficult to create power and to create pace off the ball when the ball stops off the deck. You almost got to really play it off the wicket. You saw in the final, Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins bowling a lot of cutters into the wicket, and Surya Kumar at the end, they're really struggling to create power because there's just no pace on the ball. And the commentators did allude to that. Now, what happens when the dew comes down in the evening? The wicket gets a little bit wet. There's a bit of moisture on the surface. The ball even picks up a little bit of moisture from the outfield, and all of a sudden it's a different game. Those balls coming at 145 now keeps the pace, and all you need to do, and by the way, there's no movement of the seam anymore. Because of the moisture, the ball or the seam hitting the deck does absolutely nothing to the ball. Normally that will deviate on a slower or a drier surface, or surface with a lot of grass on where there's no water on it. The ball might deviate a little bit out or in, which really makes it tough for the batters to bat on. Now, what happens when it's wet? It just skids through. There's no swing, no seam movement. You don't have to create any pace because the pace is already on the ball. You just need to punch it. We call it a check drive. And that's what you saw the Aussies do in that second innings. They started really hard with a new ball because they identified that as a threat in the first 10 overs. And once the dew came down, settled in, the ball got a bit wet, the surface got a bit wet, and they knew all they needed to do. You saw Marnus Labuschagne just punching through the line. Travis Head just punching through the line. You never have to overhit. The runs just flow a lot easier, much easier to score. So that's the difference between the dewy conditions and the dry conditions. And also with the dry stuff, there is a bit of reverse swing as well, which we also saw in the final in that first innings. So these conditions not really playing into India's hands. But then you can say, and you can argue, India playing at home had an upper hand in that department. So maybe it was even Stevens. I don't know. Anyway, long story short, in the next show, I will be covering a bit more about my complaints with the format, the 50-over format in this World Cup. I feel there's change is needed in the future. We need to keep our hands on that with regards to the toss, also with regards to the 50-over format as a whole, the crowds that didn't come in the start of the tournament. There's a lot to discuss. I was thinking not for this show. This show, we needed to focus on Australia and India played fantastic cricket. Aussie lifting that trophy, and congratulations to them. And on that note, I've got a surprise for you guys. We're going to be talking to my good friend, the Australian World Cup champion, the guy who played with me at Delhi Daredevils for the first 3 years of the IPL, David Warner. Ah, there you are.
How are you, champion?
Hi, mate. You well?
Good, thank you, pal. How's things?
No, very good. I'm giggling because you're lifting a bloody another trophy. It's unbelievable.
It's something special, that's for sure, especially over here.
Congrats, man. I'm very happy for you. Well deserved. Yeah, no, thanks for joining me. Just quickly on Maxwell's knock against Afghanistan, because you guys had quite a slow start in the tournament. Was that sort of a turning point in just like the way you guys thought about this tournament, or were there quite a few other moments?
I think you know, AB, is that we had probably two of the hardest games up front in the tournament. So like, you know, those two teams have to play each other. And then when you beat certain teams, those teams have to play them as well. So in the back of your mind, you go 0-2, your back's up against the wall, you have to win every game. So you sort of get that sort of kick up the backside. And I've always said, you know, momentum's a good thing, but you need one sort of loss to get you back up again, if that makes sense. So we'd love to always go undefeated, but sometimes in tournament play, it just doesn't happen. But Maxwell's knock against Afghanistan, you know, there's just not enough superlatives for that knock. Absolutely incredible. And you know very well, batting in Wenkati at night time when the ball's skidding on like that, if a guy like Maxwell is in, nothing's stopping him. Nothing, not even cramps.
Exactly, spot on. He looked like the Undertaker there at times, lying flat on the floor. Just talking about moments in games and the way you guys turn this around and playing big moments. The Aussies have found a way over the years just to do that incredibly well. I mean, none other than the semi-finals. I think you guys had the rough end of the conditions there against South Africa. It looked incredibly tough to bat second there. You were under pressure, and you guys just always find a way to cross the line. I can think back to '99, all the World Cups you've won, 2003, in West Indies, 2007. Sorry, but you guys have been unbelievable. How do you cross the line all the time like that?
I think in those key moments, I think, you know, we spoke about our fielding was in general. That's one thing where, as an Australian unit, we were hopeless at the beginning of the tournament. We were dropping catches, we were fumbling everything, nothing was clean. And that was one big thing that we spoke about before the South African semi-final was, you know, we got to clean up our act. We got to want to scrap. We got to want to, you know, hunt as a pack. And yeah, you're right. We didn't have the best of conditions, but that's the first time in my career in India, especially, we had overhead conditions. And the wicket was just playing tricks. We honestly have no idea how the ball was seaming around and swinging as much as it did. But our bowlers set the tempo, and you know very well, when the bowlers are setting tempo like that, backing them up in the field, it gets them going a bit more, you know, and we were able to do that. And it was a very good fielding display, but the bowling was absolutely amazing. And we saw that yet again yesterday here in Ahmedabad.
Yeah, there was such an interesting game against South Africa. I was quite happy when SA won the toss. Then I saw the covers on then it was very difficult to bat on. And not long after that, I thought to myself, you know what, if we get to 240, 250, it's going to be very tough to chase. I can't see this wicket getting any easier, which was the case. But South Africa sort of lost a bit of interest towards the back end of their batting innings, thinking they didn't have enough. But it comes down to small margins, and I think that's what you allude to in knockout games. It's small margins. You guys feel it like a pack of wolves, especially you in that inner ring, saving about 20 to 30 runs as a whole, and that made a huge difference in the semi-finals. And you guys have played that kind of brand for many years. Just a quick word about Andrew McDonald and what he brings to the party with Dan Vittoria. I know the two of them are very tight. Did they have a good vibe throughout the World Cup? Did they make a big difference?
Yeah, look, 100%. You know, Andrew McDonald's such a cool, calm, collected human being. Well respected. Even when he played the game, Dan Vittori, that comes with exactly the same. They're both calm. They both had that sense of relaxation in the change room. What they've done working with the bowlers in sense of taking ownership of field placements, making sure that everyone's in the right spot, the right time for each specific batter as well. And even as a fielding unit, we're looking at the field changing and going, oh, okay, because we're not in the bowlers meeting. So we're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, this is something that we haven't thought about as batsmen. And it came off. Sometimes, you look at the great coaches that come in the past, have been like, have played the game, but have been, have been sort of scoped as the great players, and they're going to be very good coaches. Well, Torch has gone the back way. He's coached in the county circuit for many years, coached Victorian cricket for a long time, and then just snuck his way into being an assistant coach. And then a lot of criticism, not for him, but the way that obviously they handled the situation with JL, him coming in, he was under a lot of pressure. And as Torch always does, he's just cool, calm, and collected, and he allowed us to do what we wanted to do. And I think the best thing that we've done so far under his coaching is that we've been able to just do what we've wanted to do as a player. Now, as a senior player, how many times you warm up in your career? Like, you just do what you want, right? But it resonates with the youngsters as well. We're still doing it. We're warming up specifically, but it's your own time. You do it in your own time. An hour before the game, you do what you want, right? And that's one thing that he's brought in with Pat Cummins. That's, you can just see easily everyone's like demeanor and everything is just like going, wow, how good's this? This is a great team to be a part of. Like, we're relaxed, the vibe's cool. If we win, we win and we celebrate. And if we lose, we've done it the way that we've done, and we're responsible for that. And I think that's one of the great attributes that they've brought to the table as well.
No, spot on. I think it's a great approach. You give someone wings, you give someone responsibility, and they'll learn to fly and ultimately become stronger and better. Just quickly on yesterday, Hog. So the toss, was it a straightforward, definitely bowl first, or were there quite a few concerns? I wasn't sure, because you sort of rely on a bit of dew coming in the evening. You know how well India can defend as a bowling unit. The crowd, batting second. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of walking out there, having to chase something. Did you guys have discussions, or was it a very easy decision?
No, I think they were discussing the night before for a good hour and a half, 2 hours of what to do, and all the stats or all the knowledge that was coming through was to say bat first, put runs on the board. But for once yesterday, when we all got asked the question, as you always do, what would you do? I think literally majority of us said, let's just chase. If we bowl well and understand the conditions well by when we bowl, you know what to chase, and then you can anchor. So what Marnus did yesterday was absolutely perfect. You look at when we played against India in the first game, they were 3 for 4, I think they were, but then Virat did what he does, and then KL Rahul as well. They were ice calm. So when you know what you have to get in those situations, your best batters will generally thrive, and they will play the tempo of the game. And that's one thing that was in the back of our mind that we were able to do if we weren't chasing, with a 3 in front of it.
Yeah, it was an incredible call. And just a quick word on Pat Cummins. I think he had a fantastic tournament as leader. He made some really good field placings. I think his demeanor as well and his body language, having a slow start on the tournament and right throughout, he just stayed positive. You almost just believed in the fact that you guys will come good at the right time. A quick word on the captain.
Yeah, look, he's been so calm the whole time. He was criticised in England for his fielding placements, like with his being defensive and all that. And then into this as well, like slow start, and he cops it again. Like, it's not fair. I get, the captain's leading the ship, but as a whole unit, we take responsibility ourselves. And I think yesterday was a testament to that with the way that we went about it. It was a bigger ground, their bowling tactics to try and bowl short into the left side and create, that sort of 3 on the leg side, had to keep the ball down. And one day cricket, if you're facing fast bowlers and you've got fielders there, you try and hit the ball down so the top edges might come. But it put doubt in the mind of the opposition after they lost a couple of early wickets to say, all right, well, we have to play that shot, but we have to commit to it. And if we don't, we could chimney it. So, for them, the bowlers, to think like that, and as a captain to be brave and make that decision, it was phenomenal. But yesterday was unbelievable the way that he bowled. That was his best spell in the whole entire tournament. And best players, the great players, they stand up when it's time to deliver. And yesterday, he truly did that.
No, it's simply remarkable, and congrats again, mate. You guys are now just one behind the girls, eh? The women.
I don't think we're ever going to get close to them. They are so good. They are so good.
They've been incredibly good. I spoke about Meg Lanning in my last show, and she's just been. I saw her stats. I haven't really had a look at it over the last few years. Just incredibly consistent and a match winner through and through. But that whole team have been amazing. Davey, just last one. Where to from here? What are you doing, by the way? Why are you in the airport lounge by yourself? What's happening?
Well, I'm flying home to see the girls, and everyone was pre-booked on the flight for the following morning because everyone's obviously in Ahmedabad. That's a very small airport. I managed to get a flight out, and obviously half the guys are staying for the 2020. So we're all dispersing at different times. But I'd already had this planned well in advance, just to get home, be with the girls. Short turnaround before the first test as well. I think we've got about 20 days to try and relax and unwind, and then get into that first test in Perth. But yeah, it's going to be a good couple of weeks just to spend with the family. And hey, I'm at cricket on Saturday morning with the girls, so I'm into dad coaching now.
You can unwind, but don't unwind too much.
Exactly.
Listen, Dave, enjoy family time. I'm very happy for you because I know you've been through a couple of rough patches in the last few years. You've showed that resilience, came through, and here you are. I mean, scoring a lot of runs in the World Cup and lifting another World Cup trophy. Congrats. Enjoy family time, and we'll catch up soon, and appreciate your time.
Thanks, AB. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, Davey. There you have it. From the horse's mouth, David Warner winning another World Cup, his second World Cup. He's a happy man. You can see that in his face. And all the very best for the future, Davey. We have some great memories together playing at Team Delhi Daredevils back in the day. But it was nice catching up with him. Let's now quickly move on to AB Reacts. And I told you guys, I'm going to be sharing my team of the tournament. This. And here it is. Top of the list, Travis Head. There are no surprises there. Then Captain Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli at 3, top run scorer in the tournament. Ravindra, the big surprise of the tournament, power player. We might see a bit of him in the IPL. Shreyas Iyer I put in there purely because he scored a lot of runs, number one. But secondly, he's a match winner. He's a game breaker. So he can score at 200 strike rate in that middle order. That's exactly what you want. Really good against spin, where number 5 should be facing a lot of spin in ODIs. And then the double centurion in that chase against Afghanistan, Glenn Maxwell coming in number 6. He can also offer you some off spin. And you'll see how that makes sense now with my other spinners coming at 7. Jadu, just an all-around incredible cricket player, very consistent, both with bat and ball. He's my left-arm spinner. And then we have the leggy, Adam Zampa, who was right up there in the top 3 of the most wickets in this tournament. He's had a fantastic tournament. He's won a lot of games for Team Australia. He's my number 8 and also the spinner. Then Gerald Coetzee was a little bit on the expensive side, but I'm very happy to have a South African in this team. One of the top wicket takers in this tournament. He just finds a way to get wickets. Fantastic bowler, and he can hold the bat as well. And then number 10, the Sri Lankan Dilshan Madhushankar, had a wonderful tournament, picking up a lot of wickets. And then the top wicket taker of the tournament, and no surprise, from Team India, Muhammad Shami. Let me know what you guys think of the team. I had a lot of fun going through that. It wasn't easy. I was very tempted to put some names in there like Quinton de Kock and Heinrich Klaassen. I was itching to put some South Africans in there, and also some of the Indian guys as well. I was tempted to put Kuldeep Yadav in there. I thought he had a wonderful tournament. Keshav Maharaj. There's so many names, but this was my 11. I put Rohit Sharma in there as captain, and I think it's just a fantastic cricket team who will not lose a lot of games, I'll tell you that. And I was also tempted to put some Australian fast bowlers in there because they just did a fantastic job throughout the tournament, but unfortunately was not in the top 5 of the wicket-taking department in the tournament. So that's my team of the Cricket World Cup 2023. Let me know what you think about it. I had a lot of other ideas, a lot of names popped into my mind, but ultimately, this was my best 11. And I hope you agree with it. If you don't, please give me your opinions. I would love to talk about it. Now, moving on to the 360 quiz of last week. The question was, which World Cup so far has seen the most 5-wicket hauls? And the answer is the 2003 World Cup that saw 12 5-wicket hauls, and that was in South Africa. I told you guys, not easy to bat over here. Trust me, I've got first-hand experience with that. Let's move on to this week's question then. The 360 quiz question for this week is Travis Head is on top of the list containing just two names. The other is an ICC Hall of Fame legend of the game. Who is he? We all know Travis Head had a fantastic tournament, scoring a lot of runs, especially in the knockout games. So, yeah, give me your answers. I would love to know what you guys think. It's a bit of a tricky one, but I'm pretty sure you guys will get it. Thank you very much for joining me on this week's 360 show. Congratulations to Team Australia. And thank you to all of you who joined me in all the 360 shows and all the 360 live sessions throughout the last few months. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys did too. So subscribe to the channel, people. Hit the bell notification. Follow me in socials to stay updated with everything that I do on the 360 show. But I will be seeing you guys on 360 Live this coming Friday. Thank you very much for joining me the last few months. I had a lot of fun during this Cricket World Cup. And congratulations, Team Australia, lifting the 6th World Cup trophy. What a fantastic achievement. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you guys on Friday.